Hello. Hello from Nadia. Welcome to Lunaria. Welcome to my women's platform. Cars and races. My baby don't care for. Welcome to this program or podcast about women, cyclical life, womanhood, and even Lana Turner's smile. And today I'd like to speak about two main things. Again, from the interpretation that I gave last time of the woman's cycle. You remember the Dasha Mahavidyas I introduced in the last episode, so I'll carry on from that. But before speaking about that, I'll tell you one kind of new thing. I think I never spoken about this. We have been speaking about cyclical changes, the fact that a woman's subject to so many daily changes, hormonal changes, physical changes, all of the things that happens. We spoke about the moon, full moon, dark moon, the growth of this light from within, the peak of energy in ovulation, the decrease of energy throughout the luteal phase, and the darkness of the menstrual cycle, the menstrual phase itself. So, a lot of changes, a lot of Shakti, a lot of energy movement. This can be intense, and this sometimes can be overwhelming. This is the reason of many women's problems, like the fact that they over-connect with these changes and sometimes identify with the change itself. So I believe it's important to know, so to have a knowledge of what's happening inside, like what's the body like, what's the anatomy, the physiology, the interpretation of all this throughout the different cultures we have. But on the other hand, it's extremely important to find the midline, to find the base camp, to connect with stillness, with the lack of change. So to have a base camp where you can go back anytime you don't feel safe anymore and you feel overwhelmed or triggered by this constant change, which men can hardly understand because they're not subject to. And therefore, the connection with the presence, the awareness, the silence, stillness is important. Meditation, calm, finding a space where you can come back to yourself, come back to the non-movement, the non-change, the stillness, that thing, that idea, or, that dimension you can tap into when you don't identify with the change, when there is no taste, no smell, no sound, no movement, nothing. So welcome to get connected with this midline, to get connected with this base camp, with this stillness, with this silence, with this presence, with it, whatever you want to call it. Somebody calls it divine consciousness. Welcome to do that in order to have a broader understanding of whatever I'm speaking about here without identifying with the troubles, with the changes. So having a good perspective. Yes, and perspective. Which perspective? Yeah, there is perspective of the Dasha Mahavidyas I was speaking about last time. So who are the Dasha Mahavidyas? I told last time that here we're speaking about these 10 great wisdom goddesses. And this wisdom is not a wisdom that is learned from books, but it's something that arises from conscious awareness of the experience of life. So they, as I already described, they come from the Puranas, the Devi Mahatmya, from many texts and oral and written traditions in the Indian subcontinent. So we are referring to powerful agents of the great goddesses. So somebody who fight demons, destroy ignorance and egoism, usually depicted as very powerful, frightening, and usually very violent too, because they have this kind of mission, this role to reestablish respect for the goddess who manifests them. So they will always have magical, meditative, or yogic powers, what we call the siddhis. And yes, it's the siddhis I want to speak about today. And from the siddhis, maybe according to the time that we have, go and see each and every Mahavidyas together. So what are the female siddhis? What do we speak? What do we mean for female siddhis? So we said that siddhi is an apparently superhuman or magical power. So meaning that human consciousness holds the potential for siddhis when focused awareness invites unified alignment with cosmic powers. Usually in the lives of what we call yogis, so people who go through extreme and intense ascetic yoga practice, siddhis result out of this ascetic practices. But in the lives of conscious women, there are certain kind of naturally arising intense physical experiences, and these ones are the ones that invite us to embrace the power of this specific female siddhis. And here I'm referring again to Uma Dinsmore-Toolei's interpretation of what these female siddhis are. I like this interpretation because she associates and identifies number eight, apparently purely biological female human body functions as potential female siddhis. Yes, 8 body functions, female body function. So the first one is the onset of menstruation in the time of menarche. So menarche, we call menarche the first menstruation in a woman's life, in a girl's life. It can happen between the 10 and 15-year-old. Somebody could have it earlier, somebody could have it later. Menarche. Then another function that she associate to female siddhis is the monthly lunar rhythm of menstrual cycles. So the menstrual cycle itself, we could say. Female orgasm is conducted to this as well. The time of pregnancy, and on the other hand, the time of miscarriage, so the pregnancy loss. Somebody describes it as a very mysterious thing, and it can happen to, I think, quite a high rate, like one woman out of 5, 2 out of 10, or even higher, according to where you are in the world. Then labor and birth is another function associated to female siddhi. Lactation, so the act of breastfeeding. And finally, menopause. So here I quote Uma, and she says, because female siddhis are naturally arising physical experiences, it is important to notice the difference between experiencing their physiological aspects as bodily functions and recognizing these experiences as potential siddhis. It is conscious recognition that transforms the physical experience into a siddhi. Conscious awareness is crucial to perceive that the hormonal, emotional, and physical experiences of female siddhis have the capacity to be experienced as spiritual initiations into power. Wow, I found this brilliant. I found this extremely interesting and quite revolutionary. I mean, if I knew this when I was 13 and I was, managing my periods in quite a not experienced way, I would have had a totally different approach. But it's fine. It's never too late to learn all this and to get an understanding of your cycle that brings you somewhere else from, the mainstream. So this is not the mainstream, obviously. It's quite a special interpretation. And here we go with another paragraph of her text, again taken from the Yoni Shakti book. This is actually coming from the cards of the 10 wisdom goddesses, the Dasha Mahavidyas. And she says here, consciousness of female siddhis brings series of initiatory challenges that potentially offer embodied understanding of the great powers of cyclical change and growth. Awareness of female siddhis reveals a radical understanding that women's apparently biological functions can be experienced as a progression of powerful manifestations of the capacity for insight, vision, and deep wisdom. Wow. Yes. And here, the connection with the great wisdom goddesses, the Dasha Mahavidyas, comes from the fact that each and every one of them stands guardian over certain female siddhis. So what I like of woman's interpretation is that she associates this 8 power plus 2 other powers that I'll tell you, to the woman's cycle. The cycle intended as a hormonal cycle and the cycle of the life of a woman. Everything's mirroring everything in a woman's life. There is a microcosm and macrocosm. And of course, the hormonal cycle will be the microcosm. The life cycle will be a macrocosm, so a major timeline. But in the end, it's a cycle as well. So it's the same thing. So what happens here is that the description of the Dasha Mahavidyas is going through a kind of diagram. So she sets the 10 wisdom goddesses in an interconnection. And this interconnection shows how each of them protects a certain aspect of experience, of learning, of intuitive wisdom, according to the specific power we're speaking about. And in particular, you have to imagine a wheel, like a flower. Here in Oroville, we have this image quite clear, like a flower with 8 petals. And in the middle of this wheel, in the middle of this flower, there is Kali, which stands as a major mother of the whole Mahavidya set. And then around the flower, there is a cycle of Tara. So we have Tara around, Kali in the middle, and between Kali and Tara, you will have the 8 petals. So the 8 other Mahavidyas. So I'd like to see each of them with you, but as they are many, it will take some episodes to tap into each and one of them. I'd like to start with Kali. And here the interpretation might differ from the one we're used to in the mother's interpretation. With mother here, I mean Mira Alfassa, Oroville's mother. But there may be some similar interpretations too. You will see that. I'm going to read now, again, Uma's words, about Kali. Again, imagine this flower, this wheel with Kali in the center. And here we go. Kali. The literal meaning of the name Kali is time. Kali, or the power of change and time, is the only true constant of the whole of our life cycles. We are nothing but change. As the central wisdom goddess, Kali stands guardian over our initiation into this powerful knowing of what we learn as time passes and we age and change. Kali teaches us about time as a inescapable power and in the context of understanding the effects of time and change from a woman's perspective. Kali is also a way to understand about the nature of cyclical knowledge, for the way that time is measured out in our women's lives is through the repetition of cycles. For the way that time is measured out in our women's lives is through the repetition of cycles. When we place this powerful goddess as the protective entity around the cycles of our lives, what we permit is the opportunity to embrace the inevitability of change as a potential for great wisdom and understanding. Kali, in her terrifying closeness to death and darkness, shows us the necessity for self-acceptance and surrender. Her Mahasiddhi, or great power, is the power that comes with acceptance of change and the willingness to let go in order to grow. Kali invites us to surrender completely any ideas that come from a desire to fix or define our sense of identity. And thank you, Uma, for this beautiful interpretation of the meaning of Kali. Self-acceptance, surrender, acceptance of change, willingness to let go in order to grow. Quite beautiful powers and very needed in a woman's life if you think of all the things we go through, at least in the body experience. And after Kali, I'd like to introduce you to the other Mahavidya, who I told you is around the flower. So Kali in the middle of the wheel, in the middle of the flower, the 8 petals stepping out from Kali, and all around the cycle of Tara. You know, Tara comes from both Hinduism and Buddhism, so you find it in many traditions around the Asian contexts. But here we are speaking about Uma's interpretation that comes from the Shakta Tantra background, as you might have understood. I'm going to read now. Tara. Tara is the goddess who guides through troubles. She stands guardian over the siddhi, power, of the conscious awareness of our menstrual cycle. The great spiritual practice of menstruality consciousness, the Mahasiddhi, or great power, that nourishes all the other siddhis. Tara literally means star, in the sense that she provides us with stellar guidance for conscious understanding of the lifetime journey of monthly blades and other cycles. Tara invites us to place these experiences in the broader cosmic context. In the context of the Mahavidyas, Tara is also has a fierceness and capacity for violence that is very similar to Kali. In relation to the great siddhi of menstruation, this fierceness is a strong compassion, a love that has the capacity to bestow deep liberation. And this is the nature of this great Mahasiddhi. The circles of monthly cycles give access to a very deep cyclical wisdom, which is in itself the key to understanding all the other female siddhis. It is in the orbit of the menstrual mother star, Tara, that all the other female siddhis are held. Tara is sometimes also called the saving word. The sound of her seed mantra, Om, is the sound that can carry us over the sea of challenges that we may sometimes experience. Tara offers safe passage through the intensities of menstrual difficulty by helping us to understand those intensities as opportunities. This is how the great CD of menstruation can be encountered as a monthly opportunity for the development of clear understanding of our own internal challenges as openings into a fuller awareness. Thus, we may better access the vast potential power which conscious menstruation and subsequently conscious menopause offer to us. This is the intuitive wisdom of conscious awareness of the rhythms of our life cycles. Beautiful. Thank you. And it's with Tara's description that I'm going to leave you now. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being inspired by the Tasha Mahavidyas, by the female CDs, by these beautiful descriptions of Kali and Tara. And looking forward to next week. Thank you from Nadia. Love from Oroville.